right, let's dive into this. We're taking a deep dive right into the heart of the Chanakya Niti-Shastra. It's a collection of political and ethical maxims, all compiled by this guy, Chanakya Pandit. Now, he was a key advisor to Emperor Chandragupta Maurya way back around 300 BC. We're talking ancient India here.
That's right.
And we're going to explore some of Chanakya's, well, some might call it timeless advice.
Timeless, absolutely.
On topics like leadership, how to deal with friendships, family, even pursuit of knowledge and virtue. You know, it's amazing how relevant some of his insights still are, even today.
I think what's remarkable about Chanakya is that his wisdom wasn't just theoretical.
Yeah.
It actually had a real-world impact.
Yeah.
His guidance helped Chandragupta Maurya establish the Mauryan Empire. I mean, we're talking one of the largest empires in ancient India.
Wow.
And this was during a period of, like, crazy political upheaval following, Alexander the Great's invasion.
Oh, right.
So it was a really pivotal time.
So this wasn't just some guy, like, writing in a cave somewhere. He was right in the thick of it.
Oh, yeah.
Shaping the destiny of an empire.
In the thick of it.
Wow. And so, I mean, his Niti-Shastra, it feels almost like a playbook.
It is.
For anybody who wants to understand human nature and then figure out how to navigate the challenges of leadership, of life, of just, being a person in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the text is full of these verses. They're almost like proverbs, covering all sorts of topics. And, for instance, one of the things that Chanakya says is, a wicked wife, a false friend, a saucy servant, and living in a house with a serpent in it are nothing but death.
Wow.
So, he uses these really vivid images to drive home this point about choosing your company wisely.
It's not even just about avoiding people who are obviously bad for you, right? He also challenges us to really see how people behave when they're under pressure.
Okay.
He has this one. I love this one. He says, test a servant while in the discharge of his duty, a relative in difficulty, a friend in adversity, and a wife in misfortune.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, on the surface sounds a little cynical.
It does, yeah.
But also it makes you think about how we often reveal our true character when things get tough.
That's right. He's urging us to be discerning in our relationships, to really pay attention to actions, not just words.
Yeah.
Which is a tough lesson to learn even today.
Yeah. And then there's this one. Even from poison, extract nectar, wash and take back gold if it has fallen in filth. Receive the highest knowledge from a low-born person, so also a girl possessing virtuous qualities, even if she be born in a disreputable family. There's a lot going on in that one.
There is a lot going on in that one, yeah. It's really fascinating because it kind of shows us Chanakya challenging social norms of his time. Like he's suggesting that true worth isn't determined by birth or, by those kind of external factors.
Right.
It's about those inner qualities, like knowledge and virtue. And it makes you wonder, how often do we judge people based on just superficial things?
Yeah.
Rather than their true character?
Yeah. Yeah, good point. It's a reminder to look beyond the surface.
Yeah.
To recognize potential where maybe other people wouldn't.
Absolutely.
Now, we do have to acknowledge, right, that some of Chanakya's views reflect, well, the kind of patriarchal attitudes of his time.
Right, yeah.
That was a different era.
Absolutely. And, some verses do kind of depict women in a less than favorable light. So it's important to read those passages, I think, within that historical context.
Of course. But
it's also interesting to note that Chanakya sometimes praises women's positive qualities as well, particularly a wife's devotion and righteousness. So it paints a very complex picture of gender roles in ancient India.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting is that while Chanakya is most famous for his political savvy, his teachings go way beyond just winning those power struggles. You know what I mean?
Right.
He also offers a lot of advice on just self-improvement.
Absolutely.
And navigating all those daily life challenges like this one. Do not reveal what you have thought upon doing, but by wise counsel keep it secret, being determined to carry it into execution. I mean, that sounds like something straight out of a modern self-help book, right?
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It speaks to the importance of focusing on action, not just talk.
Yeah.
It resonates with modern ideas of goal setting and execution.
Yeah.
It's about having that vision and then taking those concrete steps to make it happen.
Yeah.
Putting it into practice.
And how many times have we all been guilty of talking about something we're going to do and then not doing it, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He's reminding us to be more strategic, to think things through, and then really act decisively. And of course, to be mindful of who we show our plans with.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because as he warns us, avoid him who talks sweetly before you, but tries to ruin you behind your back, for he is like a pitcher of poison with milk on top. It's a stark reminder that not everyone has our best interests at heart.
Yeah, that one's a classic for a reason. It really makes you think about the people you surround yourself with and whether they are truly supportive or just pretending to be.
Yeah.
I mean, who hasn't encountered a pitcher of poison with milk on top at some point, right?
Exactly. It really highlights that need to be discerning in our relationships.
Yeah.
To learn to read people and to really trust our instincts when something feels off.
Right, right.
And then on the flip side, to really cherish those genuine connections that bring us joy and support.
Yeah, and so it's interesting how he ties these very practical insights about relationships and self-improvement back to his kind of overall philosophy.
Absolutely.
He seems to suggest that even if you achieve all this worldly success, it's ultimately meaningless without inner peace and some kind of spiritual fulfillment, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He really believed that learning and putting knowledge into practice were essential not just for like personal gain, but also for spiritual growth.
Yeah.
He even says learning is retained through putting into practice.
Huh. Which is such a powerful idea. It's not enough to just passively absorb information. You actually have to apply it, test it out, make it your own.
Absolutely.
That's how we really learn and grow, and intellectually, but also I think spiritually as well.
Right, right.
And so he understood the importance of experiential learning long before it became this like modern buzzword in education, right? And it makes you think about how can we apply this principle in our own lives, whether we're trying to learn a new skill, improve a relationship, or even just deepen our understanding of the world.
Right. And, speaking of putting knowledge into practice,
Yeah.
Chanakya had a lot to say about family life, too.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He really delved into topics like raising children, managing a household, even navigating the dynamics between husbands and wives. It's almost like he created this ancient Indian self-help guide for building a strong and harmonious family.
Did he offer any tips that we might actually find useful today? Or was it all, pretty outdated advice?
Well, some of it definitely reflects the values and norms of his time. For instance, there are verses that seem to endorse corporal punishment for children.
Right.
Which is obviously something we wouldn't condone today.
Of course, yeah.
But it's a reminder that those cultural norms, they evolve over time.
Yeah, they do.
And we can learn from both the wisdom and the limitations of past perspectives.
Right. So what about those nuggets of wisdom that might actually resonate with us in the 21st century?
Well, one of the things he really emphasized was education.
Okay.
And not just for personal fulfillment, but also for the well-being of society as a whole. He actually has this great line where he says, "Those parents who do not educate their sons are their enemies. For as is a crane among swans, so are ignorant sons in a public assembly."
Oh.
So, imagine telling that to a teenager who's resisting doing their homework.
That puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting good grades.
Right.
It's about really equipping yourself with the knowledge and the skills to give back to the world.
Exactly.
To contribute.
Yeah, and he also emphasizes the importance of choosing a life partner who shares your values and who brings peace and contentment to your life.
Yeah.
He describes a true wife as one in whose company the husband feels contented and peaceful.
Okay.
So, while his views on marriage might have been more traditional, that core desire for a harmonious partnership is something I think we can all relate to.
It's about finding that special, who makes you feel at ease, not stressed out, and who really supports your growth and well-being.
Absolutely.
And speaking of growth and well-being, I want to kind of revisit some of those really striking quotes we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
The ones that feel incredibly relevant to our modern lives.
Right.
That one about keeping your plans secret really, really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah. "Do not reveal what you have thought upon doing, but by wise counsel keep it secret, being determined to carry it into execution." It's all about being strategic, thoughtful, and not just, blurting out every idea you have.
Yeah.
In our age of instant gratification and social media oversharing, it's so easy to get caught up in that hype and just announce your intentions before you've really thought them through.
Totally.
So Chanakya is really urging us to be more deliberate, to carefully consider our plans, and maybe seek wise counsel before we just rush into action.
Yeah, that makes me think of that other quote about avoiding two-faced friends.
Right.
The ones who are like, a pitcher of poison with milk on top.
Avoid him who talks sweetly before you but tries to ruin you behind your back, for he is like a pitcher of poison with milk on top. Such a vivid image.
Oh, it is.
And it's such a timeless warning about the dangers of trusting the wrong people.
Right, right.
So Chanakya is reminding us to be discerning about who we let into our lives, to pay attention to those actions rather than just words, and to look for consistency and integrity.
It's about recognizing that not everyone has your best interests at heart, and learning to trust your gut instincts when something feels off. Sometimes the most charming people can turn out to be the most toxic.
It's true, it's true.
And just as importantly, it's about cherishing those genuine connections that bring us joy and support and inspiration.
Absolutely.
The people who really uplift us and encourage us to be our best selves.
Exactly. Those are the people worth holding on to.
Exactly. And now I'm also fascinated by Chanakya's emphasis on learning by doing, on applying knowledge in real life situations.
Absolutely.
It seems like he was way ahead of his time.
Oh, yeah.
In understanding the power of experiential learning.
He really was. He understood that true understanding comes from putting knowledge into practice.
Right.
As he put it, learning is retained through putting into practice. You know, it's not enough to just passively read about something or listen to a lecture.
Yeah.
You have to get out there and experiment, make mistakes, and learn from your experiences.
It's about embracing a growth mindset, viewing challenges as opportunities for learning, and being willing to step outside of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
You know, to really experiment, make mistakes, and learn from those experiences.
Yeah. It makes me think about all the times when we've learned the most valuable lessons, not from textbooks, but from those real-life experiences. Whether it's, you know, a personal setback, a professional challenge, or even just trying something new and unfamiliar.
And that ties into Chanakya's broader view on spirituality and the pursuit of liberation.
Absolutely.
It's not just about achieving worldly success. It's about cultivating inner peace, wisdom, and compassion.
Exactly. For Chanakya, spiritual liberation wasn't some like abstract, otherworldly concept.
Right.
It was about, you know, transforming your experience of the world in the here and now. It was about finding meaning and purpose beyond material pursuits and aligning yourself with something larger than yourself. You know, he even goes so far as to say, heaven is but a straw to him who knows spiritual life.
Wow.
It really makes you wonder, what are we truly striving for in our lives?
Yeah.
You know, is it just about accumulating wealth and status, or is there something deeper, something more fulfilling that we're really seeking?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And he also emphasizes the importance of finding authentic spiritual guidance.
Okay.
He who is without religion and mercy should be rejected. A guru without spiritual knowledge should be rejected. You know, it's about seeking out mentors and teachers who embody the values they preach and who inspire you to be your best self.
It's about finding those people who walk the talk, who really live with integrity and compassion, and who challenge us to grow both intellectually and spiritually.
Absolutely.
And I think just as importantly, it's about cultivating those qualities within ourselves.
Right.
You know, Chanakya saw spiritual growth as an active process, something we cultivate through right action, right thought, right effort.
Right. So it's not just about meditating on a mountaintop.
Right, exactly.
It's about bringing those spiritual principles into our daily lives and striving to live with awareness, compassion, and purpose. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all things and understanding that our actions have this ripple effect on the world around us.
And that brings us to another key theme in Chanakya's teachings, right? Leadership.
Absolutely.
He believed that true leadership wasn't about wielding power over others.
Right.
It was about mastering yourself, cultivating those qualities of wisdom, courage, and compassion that actually inspire others to follow you.
Yeah.
So it's about leading by example, about being the kind of person that others look up to and admire,
Right.
not because of your title or status,
Right.
but because of your character.
And he also stressed the importance of being adaptable, reading situations accurately, and responding with both strategy and integrity.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, in our ever-changing world, we need leaders who can think on their feet, navigate ambiguity, and make tough decisions while staying true to their values.
It's not just about achieving those external goals. It's about creating an environment where everyone can thrive.
Yeah.
And fostering a sense of unity and purpose.
Exactly. It makes you think about the kind of leaders we need in today's world.
Yeah.
The kind of leaders who can inspire us to work together to address those complex challenges we face.
I'm curious to explore some of the specific verses where Chanakya actually talks about leadership.
Yeah.
And see how his ancient advice might apply to our modern context.
Well, he really emphasizes the leader's responsibility for the well-being of those they lead.
Okay.
He has this one where he says, the king is obliged to accept the sins of his subjects. The purohit, priest, suffers for those of the king. A husband suffers for those of his wife. And the guru suffers for those of his pupils.
Wow.
It really highlights that interconnectedness.
Yeah.
That our actions have this ripple effect and impact those around us.
It's a powerful reminder that leadership isn't just about taking credit for the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's also about owning up to the bad stuff.
Absolutely.
And taking responsibility for the well-being of those you lead.
And Chanakya recognized that leadership often involves navigating these complex relationships and dealing with difficult people.
Right.
And he advises, conciliate a strong man by submission, a wicked man by opposition, and the one whose power is equal to yours by politeness or force.
That's some serious power play strategy.
It is, isn't it?
It's about understanding the different types of people you'll encounter in life and adapting your approach accordingly.
Exactly. Being strategic, knowing when to stand your ground and when to seek compromise. It's about wielding power wisely, not just for personal gain, but for the greater good.
For the greater good.
And Chanakya also provides some pretty insightful tips on dealing with those challenging personalities.
Oh, I'm all ears.
He suggests, conciliate a covetous man by means of a gift, an obstinate man with folded hands in salutation, a fool by humoring him, and a learned man by truthful words.
It's about meeting people where they are, understanding their motivations. Right.
And speaking their language.
Exactly. So it's about being adaptable and strategic in our interactions with others and, finding ways to navigate those challenging relationships with integrity and compassion.
And sometimes it's about knowing when to just walk away. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Chanakya reminds us to be discerning about the company we keep.
Yeah.
Avoid him who talks sweetly before you, but tries to ruin you behind your back, for he is like a pitcher of poison with milk on top. We've got to protect our energy, our well-being, by surrounding ourselves with people who support our growth, who share our values.
And who aren't trying to poison us.
Exactly. And speaking of effort, I want to circle back to Chanakya's views on learning and applying knowledge in real-life situations, because he understood that true understanding comes from putting knowledge into practice. As he so wisely said, learning is retained through putting into practice.
Absolutely. It's about moving beyond that passive absorption of information and actively engaging with ideas on a deeper level. Yeah, it's about embracing a growth mindset, viewing challenges as opportunities for learning, and being willing to step outside of our comfort zones to experiment, make mistakes, and learn from those experiences.
It makes you think about all those moments in your own life where you've really learned something, not from a book, not from a lecture, but from actually taking a risk or, making a mistake or just facing some sort of challenge head on.
Yeah, those are the things that shape us, right? They help us grow both intellectually and spiritually. And what I find so remarkable about Chanakya is how he blends this really practical, street-smart advice with these really profound insights about human nature and spiritual growth. It's an interesting mix.
It is, yeah. And he doesn't shy away from, the complexities of life. He acknowledges that there will be challenges and, betrayals, moments of despair. But he also offers guidance on how to navigate those difficulties with resilience and grace. He reminds us that we're not meant to go through life alone. Strong connections and those sources of support are really essential.
Yeah, like earlier we talked about that verse where he suggested finding solace in, offspring, a wife, and the company of the Lord's devotees when you're feeling consumed by sorrow.
Right.
It's a reminder to lean on those we trust when times get tough.
Yeah.
And to find strength in those connections.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not just about seeking support from others. It's also about cultivating that inner strength, developing self-control and fortitude. And he has this great analogy where he compares a virtuous person to a sandalwood tree that retains its fragrance even when it's cut. So it's a beautiful metaphor for resilience.
It is.
It suggests that even when we face hardship, we can hold on to our values and emerge from those experiences stronger and even more fragrant, just like that sandalwood tree.
Yeah. It's about staying true to yourself even when it's difficult. And he even asks this question. He says, who can erase what Lord Rama has inscribed upon our foreheads at the time of birth? It's a powerful reminder that we each have a unique path to follow, a purpose to fulfill. You know, it's about embracing our strengths, acknowledging our weaknesses, and striving to live a life that aligns with our values.
And maybe even trusting that there's a larger plan at play, even if we can't always see it.
Even if we can't always see it, right. Well, as we start to wrap up this depth dive into the Chanakya Niti-Shastra, it's fascinating to consider how these ancient teachings written thousands of years ago still hold so much relevance today.
I know. It's incredible how many of his verses feel so timeless, so applicable to the challenges we face, even in the 21st century.
Yeah, and I think it's because Chanakya's wisdom, it's rooted in this deep understanding of just human nature, right? His insights into psychology, strategy, and ethics, they kind of transcend time and culture.
Yeah, he's given us a toolkit for navigating the complexities of life, regardless of the era we live in.
And through this deep dive, we haven't just learned about Chanakya. We've also been challenged to reflect on our own values and how we can live with greater wisdom, purpose, and compassion.
Absolutely. So as we go forth, let's remember Chanakya's advice, to be strategic, to be compassionate, and to never stop learning.
And maybe, just maybe, by embracing these principles, we can create a world that's a little bit wiser, a little bit kinder, and a little bit more aligned with those timeless values of virtue